Noah Breuer is an American artist with a personal connection to Czech history. His ancestors owned a textile factory in Dvůr Králové, which was confiscated during the Second World War, and most of his Jewish family perished in the Holocaust. In 2016, Breuer discovered fabric swatches from the factory in Czech archives, inspiring a series of his own artworks. They are currently on display in Břeclav at the exhibition Návrat or Return, organized by the non-profit Moravian Beauty. During his recent visit to Prague, I spoke with him about his family's legacy and his artistic response to it. Your family's textile factory in Dvůr Králové was confiscated during the Second World War due to the family's Jewish origin. Most of your relatives later perished in the Holocaust. How did you first come to learn about this part of your family's history?
Well, this was well known. It was not a secret to me or my father. My father was born in 1944 in Los Angeles, but his older brother was born in 1936 in Vienna. So my father's sort of the first American. This was not a secret at all about the story and the factory and the connection to Vienna and Bohemia. However, the thing that I didn't know and my father didn't know was that there was any surviving pieces that were produced in this factory.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your great-great-grandfather who started the family business?
Yes, so Karl Breuer was born in Bohemia. He had two sons named Felix and Ernst, and those three created Karl Breuer and Zona, or Karl Breuer and Sons. And it was a textile producing company that produced all sorts of printed material, tablecloths, and window curtains, etc. Domestic textiles, you call it. Not really fancy, but kind of traditional ornamental designs, and only printing, because I think that most of the actual weaving of fabric was happening more in like Liberec.
North Bohemia.
Yeah, and then so they were only printing, but between 1900 and 1938, they got bigger and bigger. And I can't remember the exact statistics at the moment, but they were doing lots of volume by the 30s. They were exporting all over Europe.
What happened to the family after the Nazis confiscated their business?
Yeah, so my great-grandparents, the brothers of Karl Breuer and Zona, Felix was based in Vienna, Ernst was based in Bohemia, but there was always constant communication and travel. And after the Anschluss in Vienna, the Wiener family moved to Bohemia. That was September 1938. And by November, it was obvious that some of them wanted to leave the country. The Bohemian-based Breuer family thought that maybe they would be safe in Czechoslovakia, so they actually stayed. My grandparents left in November 38. And everyone that stayed was killed, everyone in the camp. So about 21 direct relatives expired. And my grandparents went to Los Angeles and built a new life there. And given the circumstances, had a happy life. For some, between 38 and 41, there's a very long, every week at least, correspondence between my grandfather and his father. So Hans, my grandfather, is writing Felix, his father, and one is in Vienna and one is in California. And I have copies of all of these letters because most of them are on a typewriter, and my grandfather was sort of stereotypical Wiener, like fastidious and organized. So he has carbon copies of everything he sent, and then he kept all of his father's letters. It's an amazing archive because it chronicles, at first, how are you doing? Oh, there's a new grandchild, gossip about people, sort of funny jokes. And then as it gets closer to 1941, it becomes darker. Things are more desperate. My grandfather is trying to figure out how to obtain visas for the rest of his family because it's obvious, increasingly obvious, that they need to leave Europe. The walls are closing in on everyone who stayed, and it was impossible.
So what happened to the factory itself?
The factory itself, after 1939, this Nazi Aryanization, including the factory of Karl Breuer and Sons, that factory became Kramer and Effenberger, which were sort of Nazi party. They were German Czechs, actually. Immediately after confiscation, they were making things for the war effort, all sorts of printed materials. One thing that I learned during my visit to the Czech Textile Archive in 2016 that no one in my family knew was that at some point, maybe in 1940, they were printing in the same factory the Jude badge, the Yellow Star badge that Jews were forced to wear. And probably the people printing them, at least some, were Jewish. I saw the actual material. They have it in the archive. And you go through the boxes of printed material from 19-teens and 20s and 30s. And then there's also this badge, and it all came out of the same place. And just the horrible irony that this factory that was the lifeblood of economics of the town, as an artist, seeing, like, creating the image that's the iconic image of your own demise is very powerful.
So you mentioned your trip to the Czech Republic in 2016 when you discovered these fabric swatches that your family used in their factory. Did you know back then that these swatches had survived, or was it a complete surprise?
Complete surprise. So I have to credit my father for finding out about the archive. In his retirement, I had asked him to do some additional research about dates and names and locations, because he's one generation closer and has more German than I do. And he found, along his search of different archives, he found out about the existence of the textile archive in České Selice. It's a very difficult word for me to say. And he said, Noah, I've been told that there's some actual surviving Breuer fabric samples there. I don't know how much. You should go there and see. So that was 2014. Eventually I went in 2016, and I was hoping, because I'm an artist, that there would be something usable for me and interesting, and it wildly exceeded my expectations. It was so much more powerful and more material than I thought. And you know, I'm a professor of print media at University of Buffalo. I'm the head of the print media area in our art department. And I've been in museums in New York and all over the world. I went to the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, and you can make an appointment to see the Rembrandts. And you can hold them if you go to the Rijksmuseum. And they'll bring you the etching of the three crosses, 400-year-old etching, and you can look. But I've never been to a museum and asked to see material and been presented with boxes that have my name on it. So to be in this Czech Textile Archive and they bring 6 boxes that say Breuer was simply incredible. So extremely powerful experience, and immediately, like totally immediately, it was clear that this is a wonderful, rich archive that I was inspired and excited to make work that responds to it.
I have to ask you though, as you said, you studied printmaking and traditional block printing. Was this decision connected to your family heritage, or is it a pure coincidence?
It's a pure coincidence. I've said this recently on this trip, and I think people don't believe me, because now that there's this rich history, of course, this is your study because of your family. And I assure you that my family did not encourage me to be an artist, although they were very encouraging, but that was not a directive. And I went to art school in America at the Rhode Island School of Design. And there, because it's very specific art school, you can major in photography or printmaking or painting or illustration. And I chose printmaking. I was very attracted to the graphic arts. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that I was lucky enough in high school to travel to Europe with my parents. So I've been exposed to lots of European art as a young person. So maybe there's something in my brain that drove me. However, if you believe in some kind of cosmic fate, let's just say once I had this Breuer fabric, I was well prepared by my formal training to make something with it and republish it in some way.
So can you tell us what exactly have you discovered, and then take us through the process of how you used those historic textile designs to transform them into your own artworks?
Sure. So what was in these boxes in the archive were almost no full samples. So the company produced tablecloths and things like that. Mostly they had small swatches. So a swatch book of the same pattern in 5 different colors. And they also had printed catalogs of the work, which would have been full color printed on paper. And it was like, my reference in America is like a Sears catalog, something you can order from afar. And actually, in addition to all of the actual fabric swatches, the fabric swatches are nice because you can touch the fabric and see the accurate color. But the small paper samples of the full design are more helpful for me as the artist because I see the entire tablecloth design perfectly printed. And I took lots and lots of photographs. And when I went home, I had this moment of, what do I do with this? And because of my print training, I began by simply making not quite reproductions, but using the designs, using some digital processes to reinterpret them and make screen prints on paper and then woodcuts on paper. And then very quickly it was obvious that, well, I'm making a textile project, I should be printing on fabric. So it presented a wonderful opportunity for me to learn how to use new printing materials that I'm not trained with. So I made wood blocks on silk and linen and did some fabric dye, and then eventually glass and cast paper and sculpture. But it's been a wonderful way to feed my curiosity about materials, which sometimes have something to do with this history and sometimes just have something to do with my artistic curiosity. One metaphor for the project, since I'm Noah, I think of it like the archive is an ark, and all the animals that come out of the ark are beautiful and different and can be reconstructed to make this new genus of species of different kinds of artworks, if that metaphor makes sense.
I imagine the whole process must have brought you much closer to your family heritage, to the history of your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been very fortunate to be able to come to Europe maybe 10 times now in my life. And when I come here, I think maybe this is classical American thinking, but it's sort of like time travel. This place seems so old compared to the States. And specifically now, thinking about my family, going to Dvor Krylov and seeing the factory, and there's addresses I can visit where family members lived. It's not like a fictitious Disneyland Europe history. It's extremely relevant. The answer to your question is yes. It's forced me to research and learn much more about an extended family tree as well that I wasn't that familiar with.
The artworks that you created using the old fabric swatches are now part of an exhibition in the Moravian town of Břeclav. What does it feel like having your works on display here in the country of your ancestors' origin?
Well, the show is called Navrat. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you did. So Navrat means return.
Yeah, and my father talks about going to Europe as some kind of return. And my first trip was at age 10 to bury my grandfather in the Central Cemetery in Wien. And that was his return to Vienna, his permanent return. And I guess it's a way of saying that we feel like we belong here. And we're Jewish identified, although we're somewhat secular, but we identify as European Jews who live in America. And this exhibition of my artwork that I've been making and exhibiting all over America, in Maine and California and Oregon and New York. It's fine, and it's very exciting to exhibit, but it should return to Europe, and it should return to Bohemia. Right now it's in Moravia, so we're close. But, you know, next summer it will travel to Český Krumlov also, and that's why it's returned.